Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Friday. Friday. I just saw something in chat. Our friend Kat put her notice in at work. Woo, buddy. That means we get Kat all to ourselves. Love you, Kat, baby. I see Lisa from Oklahoma City's in here. Welcome. What part of Oklahoma City? I don't need the address or anything. How bad's the flooding over there? And we're outside of Tulsa, so our elevation's a little higher. So we don't have all the flooding I've been seeing in your area or in northern Oklahoma. But I'm so glad everybody's here. Woo, we got a big show today. Big show. You have no idea. Just when you think the case out of Henryetta, that horrible demon. Now I can confirm demons because, as I've said, for the last 2 years, Holly was in on it. Hope they're enjoying hell because it's not flooding in hell. Look at that water otter from Claremore. Woohoo! Woohoo! Claremore zebra. Represent. That's my hometown. A lot that we have speculated about over the last 2 years has now been confirmed, but it's worse. Okay? It's actually worse than we could imagine. Wow. I didn't realize we had so many Okies in here. Look at this. Wait, what? She's in Poto? Wow. How many Okies do we have in here? Come on. Hey, Mirror Camp, when is your birthday? I know it's this month, and I didn't write it down. I've actually got a calendar on my wall. I ordered a Kentucky Derby pie, one of my favorite desserts in the world. And by the way, the Derby is tomorrow, and they sent me a free calendar. So I've been writing down all your birthdays. So when is it? Just Me said Saturday. Sarah says tomorrow. Where's Mirror Camp? Mirror Camp, when your birthday? When your birthday? She'll get back to me, and I can write it on my calendar. I certainly can. Well, let's take a second and tell everybody good morning. And we almost are to the weekend. Almost there. Just got to get through today, but we can do it together, right? Okay, so Mirror Camp's birthday is tomorrow. Mirror Camp, in honor of you, what horse should I pick at the Derby? Now, if I win any money, I will not be splitting it with you, but in honor of your birthday, I will pick whatever horse you pick for the Derby. So you let me know, and I promise I'll make a big deal out of it. You are the best. All right, so on Wednesdays, we do the whole you can't sit with us. We wear pink on Wednesdays, Mean Girls, that thing. Well, we have a lady backstage that can sit with us anytime because I tell you what, she is the grandma everybody wishes they could have. While she's getting situated, I want to say happy birthday to Mirror Camp and everybody sing along. You're the best, Mirror Camp, and let me know about that horse. OJ, it's not your birthday. Get him. Come on, that's a cord. I need that. Okay. Without further ado, I'm going to bring up our very, very special guest. I want everybody to be as cool as possible with our guest Shannon. Okay. As you know, in this case, the families have received some online flack. I had some questions at first too, and then I got to know Justin and Ashley, and it all started making sense. It's okay to ask a question, but it's damn sure not okay to go around and just make crazy ass accusations. Speaking of, could you imagine if we sent an I Wear Pink on Wednesday shirt to Ivy's dad, Justin? Could you imagine him going around with that big old beard and his Buffalo Bills cap? Sporting that? I think we're going to work on that. All right, hands together, big CLL welcome for Ivy's grandma, Shannon. Good morning, Shannon. I feel like I've known you forever.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, and I mean anytime. Hold on. Astro from space. Now let's not start breaking the balls already. We're only 8 minutes into the show. Y'all said Holly was a victim. Y'all was wrong. Who's y'all? Who were you watching, Astro? Because I've been after that bitch's ass for 2 years saying that she knew. And now we know, confirmed, she did. All right. Sorry about that, Shannon.
That's okay.
We all know
what it was.
We all know. We especially know now what was up. I hate to start it out this way, but just introduce yourself.
My name's Shannon. I'm Ivy Webster's grandmother. I'm actually the one who, when the house was released from the crime scene, I was the one that went in with my kids and the pastor and Brittany Brewer's dad and went in the house and took a lot of that video of all the stuff that was left behind.
Absolutely horrible police work that they did in Henryetta, Okmulgee County. I tell you what, leave it to them.
It was like watching Barney Fife.
Mm-hmm.
It just, it turns my stomach to even remember going back in there, and I guess I could only refer to it as the surprises that we saw.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that was just displayed out everywhere.
In plain sight. That's what I couldn't get over.
Yeah, it was disgusting. You know, and to be told, you know, that the house wasn't a crime scene and for it to be released. And, you know, a lot of people had questions about that. Like, why were we in the house? Well, you know, we were told that, you know, the house wasn't a crime scene because the bodies were found outside. You know, all we wanted was Ivy's phone and, you know, her backpack and purse. And, you know, it just, it leaves you speechless. It leaves you raw. And so when I had saw what I saw, like, I had reached out to Ivy's attorney and he said, you need to go back in and video each room because of what, you know, it could have been. You know, we didn't know. I mean, we had known at this point now that, you know, what Jesse was, and we didn't know if there could be more victims. We didn't know anything, you know, and if there were more victims, then the whole, you know, Raymond's going to throw all this stuff away as, you know, what he had told the other family, and it just didn't make sense to me how, I guess if I was on that end and they told me that I had, to get stuff out of that house, I wouldn't be taking shit off the walls. I would be going for family photos. I would be going for stuff like that. I wouldn't be digging up floorboards, and I would be going for more personal objects if that was me. You know what I'm saying? It
I
why
totally, I totally understand what you're saying.
it just I mean, I don't get it. So anyways, when
When did you get the call that Ivy was missing?
oh my God, I was God. It's so confusing. I think it was like, was it Sunday night, I think, because I was getting ready to lay down to go to bed because I had to work, and I just remember Ashley calling me, and I was like, what the hell is she calling me so late for? Like, she is in bed by like 8, 9 o'clock. And I was like, I answered the phone and I was like, what's wrong? Because she never called. The last time she called me that late was when my dad died. And all I could hear was, Mom, Ivy's not home yet. And I sat straight up out of bed, turned my light on, and I was like, what? And she's like, Ivy's not home yet. And this is totally out of Ivy's character. And I said, okay, I'm going to book a flight. And she said, no, just wait. Justin's like on his way home. Justin was heading home from Tulsa because that's where he worked at the time. And, he, on his way home, he had stopped by the house, and the house was pitch black. The gate was locked. Jesse's truck wasn't there. So he had assumed that they had went to McAllister like they said. So I instantly started calling every trauma center, every hospital, from Henryetta to Tulsa to Oklahoma City. Some were very helpful. Some were very unhelpful. And by 4 o'clock in the morning, my time, I started packing my suitcase, and I flew out May 1st. And as I was in the Phoenix airport, that was when I got the text message, the missing and endangered. And I just remember I actually happened to be with my ex-husband, Ashley's dad, and I remember seeing Jesse's picture of that, him wearing that jumpsuit. And so I had shared it on my Facebook, and my friend Melissa.
Take your time. I remember when I got that alert, I was doing a show that morning. And I told everybody on the show, I wish I could remember what I was covering that morning. I said, I've never seen an alert like this before in my life. Ever. Ever. Mm-mm. And we're in alert state. We get alerts about everything. I've never seen anything like that. I'm going to give everybody a quick recap. Shannon, if you don't want to look at it, I totally understand, because this is not anything that you're ever going to get over. But for people just joining the chat, I just give them a recap.
I just want to give you this warning. They're about to take you on a tour through this home, and it is very, very uncomfortable, but you will learn a lot about this Jesse McFadden and what he may have done before killing those kids and his wife. Take a look.
The phone or phone case with like the screen ghost face on the back. Okay. Get everything
I don't know. I don't know them, but I don't hear them well.
Yeah, yeah, those are Tiffany skates. One is the 999.
Tiffany's bad print is
What did the police say when you went in and took these videos? And how did Henryetta Police or Okmulgee County, the sheriff, miss this?
They didn't say anything. It wasn't a crime scene. All we had to have was the property owner's permission. So we had contacted him. He gave us permission to go back on the property to look for Ivy's things. Since the crime didn't take place in the house, that's why the sheriff's department released it, because there was no blood or anything in there. After we had went in the house, we tried, walking the property to see if we could find out where the bodies were found. We didn't. And, Nathan Brewer was with us and his wife, and then the pastor was with us. And then my son-in-law and daughter and I. And then the second time we went in the house, again, the pastor was with us, and the property owner's son was the one who let us in the second time. And Kaylee Olivas was with us. And the pastor was with us again. And then that's when we found the phones. And it's weird because in the first videos I took, I was kind of holding my phone up when I had opened the cabinet in the laundry room. And in the corner of the video, you could kind of see the corners of the cell phones. But, I was short. I couldn't see it. And I just breezed right over it. And the property owner's son, when we went back in the second time, he goes, "Are those them?" And I was like, we were like just freaked out, like, oh my God. And you could hear us all say, call the sheriff's department, don't touch them. As much as we wanted to grab on him and, get Ivy's phone, and yeah.
Every blade of grass, every inch of that property is a crime scene.
Yeah.
When I heard that on my local news, when the sheriff said that, I thought to myself, for one, buddy, you need to step down. You don't need to be sheriffing anymore. Since he likes to spend so much time at Eufaula Lake, why didn't he just go become a fisherman and leave law enforcement alone?
Game warden.
Yeah, why don't you go do something like that?
Yeah.
Good. Yes.
The way that it was handled, the way that they just acted so uncaring, you just hope and pray that they never have to suffer what my family's gone through, and that they could show a little compassion.
No, and when Prentice in Okmulgee was talking about it, he just made it sound like it's open and shut. Nothing to see here. It's a murder-suicide. Nobody to prosecute. There's nothing to do. Nobody to arrest. And I'm like,
we were told it was death of offender, that there was nobody to go out after. There was, and it wasn't about, going after somebody, it wasn't about necessarily that. It was about, there could be other victims, if he's this convicted pedophile, and, there could be others, what is on those hard drives, granted the crime didn't take place in the house, but what was taking place in that house before this happened? How many others could there be? How many others were there? That's what we wanted. Not to say to know personally, but if there were others, could they be identified? Were they alive? Anything, to bring light to somebody else's family of, is there somebody else that's missing? And now they have been found also. So yeah, they should have been, there were laptops, there were iPads, there were gaming systems that, and, kids on gaming systems and how kids are, lured on those and stuff like that. So, that's the stuff that we wanted locked up. And, so when we were talking to Ivy's attorney, Cameron Spradling, he basically had to twist the DA's arm to get the OSBI, because the OSBI was only called in to assist in locating the bodies. Once the bodies were found, the OSBI had to step out. We didn't want that because of the stuff that was left behind.
They should have been, asked to take the lead from the beginning, because as you said, there could be other victims, not that we need to know who they are. Above my pay grade, but if I worked for the OSBI, well, hell, I don't care if I was a dispatcher for Oglala County, I would be looking at anybody that Holly's children's were friends with at school, and I would be checking to make sure nothing happened to them. Because this isn't just a one-time thing for Jesse, which is why I'm glad that we have a new state law here. And Knight's Law has helped a lot. Thank you to Ivy's family. That you hurt a child, it's either life without parole or death. There's no more 80% with good behavior.
Cow print.
And the cow slippers over here. Smells. Inner witch. Oh my God. What?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know what part it dropped at.
On the floor over there.
This is a huge. See this? Get the fuck up right here. What is this?
This is the room. Do you remember when they said that they were making Riley sleep on their bedroom floor? Where was she sleeping at? There is no room on that floor. And then here, come over here and you know what's the.
Give me something to grab.
Take a picture. Take pictures.
It's on video.
That's them.
It's on.
Hey, that's them.
Okay.
Use this sack. Don't keep locked there.
No, those
No,
locks.
that's evidence too.
So is those
You
drugs.
just want those.
Is
That's
that
it.
hers?
Yep. Okay. Hold on.
Call the sheriff.
Yep.
Don't touch them. Don't move them.
Let's back out.
That's good.
Okay. I'm
Call the
calling.
chief.
I'm calling you.
Smokey.
Are you done looking?
No.
No, I'm not done looking, but that's evidence.
Okay.
He used our daughter's cell phone.
And whatever's behind that.
Yep. Okay.
And they're not concerned about looking anywhere else. This house needs to be stripped. Oh my God. Okay. Do me a favor.
That's coming. Don't touch anything.
No, that's what I was telling you.
But we touched everything today because we had permission from the sheriff. But we didn't touch the phones. But I was not in the state when this happened, so. Let's go.
So we're getting pictures of all this, honey. This man was a freaking monster. And his wife was too.
This one's my daughter.
He said, this guy's a freaking monster, and his wife was too.
That was our pastor.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
he was spot on. Spot on.
100%. 100%.
I want to know what else is up here and in here.
Yeah,
I think
above the
there's more.
computers.
There's computers.
Like,
What were you saying, Shannon? I'm sorry.
I said, right where his flashlight is shining, there were 2 laptops above that. There were laptops above like the witch books in the room, like iPads. There was a cell phone in the side table drawer. There was just electronics everywhere.
Where were they getting the money?
I don't know.
Because I would think that would be something that the investigators would have been very interested in. Where were they getting the money? For one, to pay for the house, Jesse's truck. Hey, maybe they had food stamps, not concerned about this. But all the electronics, everything that they had. I mean, and there was a lot. Where were they getting the money? That's where you're going to find more victims.
I can't answer that. I don't know. I don't know if they were getting some type of cash assistance for the kids. I don't know.
These tablets. Well, did you notice the ring?
The ring?
See that ring? The wedding ring right there.
Oh, I thought you were saying camera. God, that would have been great.
Is this on video?
Yeah, I'm just getting all the stuff up there.
Well, I mean, I didn't say too much of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but there's a big old machine.
but that's a weapon. So
And it's
should
in
be
here with all
taken.
this sexual paraphernalia.
And then those were right there. They obviously didn't look too hard.
No.
Look, is that another phone or that? What is that? Look, hey, that one's still on. That computer, whatever that tablet thing is.
Yeah, it's on.
And not only that,
A syringe
The needles.
and needles.
Hey.
Oh my.
that's cocaine. It's gotta be.
So
Thank you for watching. Go to
That's a lot. Now, as it turns out, Jesse had been contacting a woman in Tulsa, and he wanted to meet her at a local Walmart, but she never showed up. Was he trying to replace Holly? Was he bringing someone else into his sickness? Do we know anything more about that?
Just that he met her, I guess, on a like it's funny to say sugar daddy website.
Dear God.
I mean, is that what they call sugar daddies in Henryetta? I mean,
I don't know. That's what I want to know. Okay. So this is the latest that came out a few days ago. I'm going to assume that the families have known this information for quite a while, but now it's out. Police discovered 7 bodies inside a house in Henryetta on May 1st, 2023, shortly after Webster and Brewer were reported missing by their families. McFadden was due in court on May 1st to face charges for a crime he committed in prison involving an underage girl. He was a known sex offender and had recently been released after serving 17 years on a first-degree rape charge. So the first question is by Oklahoma Department of Corrections, and I've been asking it for 2 years. I'm going to ask again. I'm beating my head against the wall. If he was committing crimes behind bars, why let him out?
I 100% agree with you. That's a loophole in the system. He shouldn't have been let out with pending charges. But
No.
we were told that basically everybody acted according to how they were supposed to and that they are protected under immunity.
Yeah, it's hard to sue the Oklahoma Department of Corrections, and I wish, actually, any Department of Corrections, and I wish it would become a thing, because when someone gets out and reoffends, someone needs to be held accountable. So that's a loophole that needs to be fixed as well. The medical examiner's report revealed that the 6 victims, Holly, I wouldn't really call her a victim, Riley Allen, Michael Mayo, Tiffany Guest, Brittany Brewer, and Ivy Webster died of gunshot wounds to the head, and McFadden died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Additionally, Ivy and Brittany had injuries consistent with SA. Well, I'm really surprised that Riley and Tiffany didn't. According to the police, Ivy and Brittany's bodies were found nearby on the property outside the house, while the rest were found inside.
That's incorrect.
So, that's incorrect. Okay, thank you. Please correct this.
Yeah, all the bodies were found outside. Joe Prentice said that at his briefing, that was also, confirmed by the OSBI. All the bodies were found outside. And that's another reason why the house was not considered a crime scene, because the bodies were found outside.
KOTV screws things like this up all the time, and I watch them every morning. They still can't spell Oologah, okay? Every morning when they talk about Oologah Lake, it's misspelled. They have so many misspellings in their newscast. It's almost comical. All right, so ignore that. OSBI said, I think that like Ivy and Brittany were taken out to where they were found, and I think that they were killed. Easy assumption. So here's the timeline. Tuesday, April 26, 2023 is when Jesse purchases cables and locks from Walmart. Those items were later found in the house of McFadden's. The locks and cables recovered were consistent with being used as restraints.
Yeah, you see that on the video. When I looked in that bag, there were more locks and stuff that were on his desk, and the receipts were found for those too during their investigation.
Absolutely. Damn. Friday, April 28th, the text message is sent from Holly McFadden's phone to Tiffany, her daughter, and Riley, her daughter, saying Jesse would begin to teach them about sex education and encourage Tiffany to assist Riley because she was further along in this. Then the OSBI agent said videos of McFadden engaging in sexual acts with a minor were found on McFadden's phone. The OSBI agent said, and I hate to say this, but by looking up the video, it did not look like it was the first time. Now, it's hard to tear Tiffany apart because she is a minor child. Well, she's deceased now. She was being groomed not just for gratification, but to bring others to Jesse, in my opinion. If I'm off track, then let me know. But there was a lot going on between Tiffany and Jesse. And no, it's not Tiffany's fault because she's a child. It's Holly's fault.
Well,
and it's sure Jesse's fault without even having to say it.
That was our first time hearing about that between Tiffany and Jesse, and we were shocked. And I did ask if there was any communication between Ivy and Tiffany's phone, or Tiffany and Brittany's phone, that at any time did those girls know, did Tiffany say, hey, this is going on between me and Jesse? And it was confirmed that it was not known to the girls. So Ivy and Brittany had no clue that essay was going on.
No. And it's not like Tiffany was going to tell him. But when I think about the text message from Holly to Tiffany saying, help Riley along because you're further along in this, all I can say is, Holly, I hope you're enjoying hell.
I'm torn between that. Did that actually come from Holly, or did Jesse text it from Holly's phone? I don't know. Um,
I could
I
see
think
that. I could see that being the case. I could see Jesse doing that because he is so manipulative.
yeah, and I could see him doing it because he wants the girls to think that it's okay from their mom. But then again, I can see, in my opinion, Holly doing it because she wants to make Jesse happy.
This led investigators to believe Tiffany was being groomed by Jesse. For that reason, I believe he's been abusing Tiffany for a while and was getting ready to start with the other one, the agent said in the recording. We'll talk about the recording in a minute. The agent says they believe Holly McFadden knew about the abuse. 100%. In quotes, he said, I believe Holly was 100% aware of what was happening, 100% okay with it, because she just simply didn't intervene, said the OSBI agent. We have another case similar to this out of Florida, a guy named Stephen Stearns and his girlfriend, Jen Soto. We've been asking ourselves for a year, how did Jen Soto not know what he was doing to Madeline? If they did an in-depth search like OSBI has done with this, they're probably going to turn out that Jen Soto knew, didn't intervene, didn't care, turned the other eye, and encouraged it. Anyway, that's off topic. The agent says Holly was listed as a suspect. In the recording, Justin Webster, Ivy's father, says he thinks Holly, Michael, and Riley were killed on Friday. While the OSBI agent didn't believe that was the case, they said the theory could be possible. All right, on Saturday, Jesse researches handcuffs and sex shop locations. Jesse, Ivy, Tiffany, and Brittany go to a mall in Tulsa around 1 o'clock on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Around 2:30, Jesse, Ivy, Tiffany, and Brittany go to an entertainment restaurant and arcade in Tulsa.
Correct.
5:30, Jesse goes to a store in Muskogee and sells adult entertainment. It's unclear if anyone was with him. Do we know what kind of adult entertainment he was selling?
I think it was Christie's toy box.
Okay. 6:30, Brittany returns home to get a swimsuit, and Ivy sends a Snapchat with her face in it to her mom. 7:30, Jesse, Ivy, Tiffany, and Brittany are seen at a restaurant in Henryetta. 8:23, Ivy sends a Snapchat with her face in it to her mom. 10:04, Ivy's phone location was turned off. Sunday, the 30th. Brittany's phone connects to the internet at Walmart. Investigators discovered McFadden had been communicating with a woman from Tulsa on a sugar daddy website and was planning to meet up with her. He thought they were going to meet at the Walmart in Henryetta early that morning. She just didn't show up, but he was driving around with at least with Brittany Brewer's phone, the OSB agent said. The woman he was planning to meet up with refused to speak with investigators. Now, I don't know if she's hiding this from her husband or what's going on, but she needs to communicate with the investigators about what Jesse and her had going on. Okay? It does not mean she committed a crime, but it could help them because there's other victims out there.
Yeah, and she doesn't want to.
That is just damn sick.
Yeah. I 100% agree.
4:59 a.m., McFadden returns home and Brittany's phone stops communicating with cell towers. 10:07 a.m., Ivy's mom receives a text from her phone saying the group was heading to McAllister and will be back around 5. 2:15 p.m. to 4:10 p.m., McFadden and Tiffany meet with McFadden's attorney in Adair County meaning Tiffany was still alive Sunday afternoon. Why would Tiffany go meet with an attorney with Jesse?
Mm-hmm.
Where was Riley? Where was Michael? And where was Holly?
And where was Brittany and Ivy?
Yeah. It seems to me that the last to go, okay, I got to say it that way, it's YouTube, was Tiffany, then Jesse. 5:11 p.m., McFadden called Ivy's mother and stated everybody was still in McAllister. 7 to 7:30, McFadden's mother comes to his house and drops off a blanket and never goes inside. I'll never understand why his mom went all that way to drop off a blanket and why.
I will never understand that when McFadden called his mom saying he was going to kill himself, she didn't do anything about it. Why didn't she call the police and have them do a welfare check on him?
Mm-hmm.
She goes to drop off a blanket.
Yeah. That's insane. 7:44 p.m., McFadden sends a text to his attorney that he had met hours before and said, so I decided to go ahead and just be what they wanted me to be. I did everything I was supposed to do, but it meant nothing. So I'll just give them what they wanted. The bodies were discovered on the Henryetta property the next day. Oklahoma Highway Patrol issued an Amber Alert for Ivy and Brittany. The OSBI agent said Tiffany's hands were tested for gun residue, but none was found. Because it, and I'm glad they did that, because it does make you wonder if Tiffany didn't do this for Jesse. Okay, so now let's get to the recording. Now, you took the recording, and it's 100% okay. This is on KOTV. This is Shannon. She's Ivy's grandma, and everyone should have a grandma like Shannon.
And let me just clarify something too. When I was told that, you know, Kevin was going to come and, you know, give us the rundown on the case, I recorded it. I live in Arizona. I was not able to be there, and there's a lot that you forget. And I please don't take any offense to this, but when a lot of things like this go on, you have news reporters, you have law enforcement, you have podcasters, you have, you know, funeral arrangements that need to be made. You have all these people coming at you, and you're trying to grieve and, you know, put pieces together. So I didn't know what I was going to hear. I called my best friend. She came over to sit with me. I recorded it just because I didn't know what I was going to hear. And so I had asked if we could get like a, you know, a copy of the report of what was found. You have to have an attorney try and get it. We did have an attorney. Again, we were shot down. No one will take the case. There's no one to sue, yada, yada. So I basically went back to Ivy's attorney, Cameron Spradling. And I said, look, we've asked for this. We want to see the file. We want to see the report. We want to see, because Kevin Lanham was nothing but professional with us. He pulled no punches. He had the helicopters. He had the dive team out there. That man was amazing. He was probably one of the only that did anything for this family. So it was not recorded out of malice or to get him.
Oh, no. Because like you said, how are you going to remember after getting hit with that information?
Because it's like, you know, that timeline of, you know, where she was at when her last text was to Ashley, and, you know, and then talking to one of the other victims, you know, it was like, with hearing that recording again, when Jesse was supposedly coming back during that timeline with Tiffany, he was again texting Caitlin, telling her to drop the charges.
Mm-mm-mm.
You know, so no, it was Cameron that said, you know, we've been asking for it too. We've been asking for the OSBI to release this.
What do you think spurred them on to release everything? Was it you guys pushing? Was it the 2-year anniversary? Did they close their case? Because
they closed the case. I've had that recording for over a year.
Oh,
that recording was from April 4th of 2024.
I did not put that together. I am so sorry.
So yes, we've had that information. We could have released that information to the public ourselves over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't. So it was not that, you know, it was just kind of like, okay, this has been 2 years. The OSBI needs to let these people know, we need stronger laws. We need these loopholes closed. You know, why are you so afraid to talk about this? And I'm not talking about Kevin Lanham. I'm talking about, why can my daughter not have the case file regarding my granddaughter? Why do they just want to kick this under the rug? Why do they just want to close this case so fast? Why do they want to start destroying the evidence?
To protect their own. To protect their own. To protect the you know, that's what they're doing. I mean, OSBI doesn't give two shits about Okmulgee County. But they don't want to make it worse for them either, because it's more work for them.
Well, to me, in any child case, the OSBI needs to be front and center. First and foremost, I don't care if it's city, state, district, whatever. The OSBI needs to handle all child cases.
And now, because of Alana's law, it is that way. I don't know if you know about Alana Raffield in Prague, Oklahoma, where it was covered up by that nasty ass DA. He was doing prosecution deferment and taking bribes to not prosecute people. Okay. Tons of money. So they ruled Alana a suicide and it was murder. Now, Kevin Hearn, one of our state representatives, has pushed through Alana's law saying that, hey, small town cops aren't going to go copping anymore. You want to write out some traffic tickets? You want to investigate the pawn shops? Have at it. But when it comes to major crime, especially with a child, you have to contact the OSBI.
Information about the investigation into the murder of 6 people in Henryetta.
Sex offender Jesse McFadden killed his wife, her 3 children, and 2 other teenage girls 2 years ago this week. The father of one of the victims is now sharing a recorded conversation between a family member and an OSBI agent. News on 6's Chloe Abbott is live in Henryetta with why they wanted to release that now. Chloe.
Craig and Lori, Ivy Webster's father wants people to use this new information to understand how dangerous sex offenders can be. 2 years after Jesse McFadden murdered 6 people here in Henryetta. An OSBI agent told Ivy Webster's family about new information the department uncovered in the investigation, including videos of Jesse.
Goodness, look at him. Look at him. Goodness.
Jesse McFadden engaging in sexual acts with a minor.
I hate to say this, but by looking at the video, it did not look like it was the first time.
The agent, who was meeting with family members, gave them a timeline.
Do you remember first hearing that from the OSBI agent that said by looking at this video, it was not the first time?
Yes.
Anytime you need a break, you let me know. If we need to shut the whole show down, we will. Okay.
Yeah.
Of what led up to the murders. The OSBI agent told the families McFadden bought locks and cables from Walmart 3 days before the murders. Then 2 days later, a text message is sent from Holly McFadden's phone to Tiffany Guess and Riley Allen, saying Jesse would begin to teach them about sexual education.
For that reason, I believe, and from the video, multiple videos, I believe that he had been abusing Tiffany for a while. And it was getting ready to start with the other one.
The agent also says he believes Holly McFadden knew this was happening, and investigators considered her a suspect.
Holly was 100% aware of what was happening, 100% okay with it because she just simply didn't intervene.
It has family members of the victims, including Nathan Brewer, wondering why Holly McFadden didn't speak up.
Why would you even allow somebody like that to be around your kids and other kids?
On Saturday, OSBI says Jesse researched handcuffs and sex shop locations. Agents say Jesse McFadden and the 3 teens went to 2 locations in Tulsa, then a store in Muskogee that sells adult entertainment. The agent says it's unclear if anyone was with him. Later Sunday afternoon, OSBI told the families McFadden and Tiffany met with McFadden's attorney in Adair County, proving Tiffany was still alive Sunday afternoon. The bodies were discovered on the Henryetta property the next day, hours before McFadden was set to appear in court shortly after Oklahoma Highway Patrol issued an Amber Alert for Ivy and Brittany.
That was Chloe Abbott reporting. We did contact OSBI. They declined to comment, saying this is an ongoing investigation.
Okay, so they say it's an ongoing investigation. Okay, so they obviously know what happened in Henryetta 2 years ago, and it's horrible. So the ongoing investigation can only be to find other victims or other pedophiles, because birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah. But nobody in freaking Henryetta or Okmulgee goes out looking for him. It's almost like the pedophile capital of the world lately.
Mm-hmm. Hiding in plain sight. Probation officers not checking up on them, not doing anything they're supposed to do. All right, on our local news, Fox 23, I watched this the other night, going to share it with you. Brittany's father, Ivy's father came on. Now, let me ask you from a personal level, how is Brittany's father doing?
I think that it's, him finding out that, Jesse's internet search of, getting drunk rectally. I don't know if that can be on YouTube.
Yep.
And then finding the toxicology report of Brittany Brewer having alcohol in her system was a blow to him. It just leaves more questions. It's
rectally drunk sounds like torture to me.
It is, and it just makes you wonder what those kids witnessed on each other and suffered.
Okay, if we need to stop, you just let me know. You need to take a break?
I'm good.
Okay, because nobody cries alone around here, because I'm going to start crying. Okay?
Yeah. Not only, Nathan, lost his daughter that month, and then like 3 weeks later, he lost his mother, and you know, that poor man. Just, I mean, he.
Okay. How's your daughter doing? We talk about Justin a lot with this case. How is Ashley doing?
She has her good days and bad days. I always tell her she's the strongest person I know. I know my biggest fear is losing one of my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for her to lose her best friend and still have to be a mother to her other kids and a wife and a daughter and a sister and an auntie. She graduates tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
She did, yeah. She graduates with her bachelor's in deaf studies. She did it. She wanted to drop out and say forget it, but she pulled through, and now she can become a sign language interpreter. But she'll always have that void, you know, of just Ivy grabbing her and dancing. And, you know, and it's funny because I always tell my daughters that, you know, Ivy was the perfect daughter. She was, and I'm not just saying this because she was my only granddaughter, but she really was perfect. I mean, she never gave you any grief, you know. She truly had a light about her that, you know, Ivy could walk into a room and people were just drawn to her. She loved people, animals. People flocked to her. And just the love and support, you know, from her friends at school. You know,
and I couldn't imagine the kids in school either because she was very popular.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I have some of them on my Facebook, and just seeing the memories that they post and the pictures that they post of them hanging out with Ivy, and like her softball photos, and you know, they hold up her number 2 because that was her softball number, just to show that they still remember her and include her. And that asshole took all that.
Yeah, that asshole. You're right. That asshole took all of that.
You know, and it just makes my skin crawl that Jeanette would sit there and call her Holly a doting mother.
Jeanette's a real piece of shit too. Jeanette, we talked about Jeanette last night. Jeanette is Jesse McFadden's mother. Boy, she raised some real winners.
Oh, that's LaDonna. That's Jesse McFadden. Jeanette is Holly's mom.
I'm sorry, Holly's mom. Okay, never mind.
They both don't get the mother of the year in my book.
No, I'm sorry. Okay. I get them confused. They raised some real winners, let me tell you. And I could not believe that they came right out of the gate wanting sympathy. And I thought, wow, you have got the balls of a burglar, even in Okmulgee, Oklahoma. Even if you are in Muskogee, you've got some balls to be coming out and asking for sympathy after you raised spawns of Satan.
That's exactly what I referred to them as.
Because I can tell you right now, just this ring that Jesse and Holly have going on, And yes, there's more, hence why OSBI said it's still an ongoing investigation. There's more out there. Hell is full, and that's the reason we have so many demons here. Let's get to Fox 23 when Brittany's father and Ivy's father speak about the new revelations.
In Okmulgee County, the fathers of 2 teenagers killed 2 years ago this week in a mass murder in Henryetta are calling for changes to make sure the same thing doesn't happen to anyone else. Thursday marks 2 years since the tragedy. 14-year-old Ivy Webster and 15-year-old Brittany Brewer were both killed when they went to stay at their friend Tiffany's house. Tiffany, her 2 siblings, and her mom were also killed by their stepdad, Jesse McFadden, who then took his own life. Fox 23 weekend evening anchor Morgan Martin joins us live in studio after sitting down with the families to talk about the changes they say still have to happen.
Shay, they told me they're not holding back any longer and have repeatedly been failed by a system that's not doing enough to protect children from sexual predators. We do want to warn you, some of what they shared with me today includes sexually graphic details, but it is important to share to make other parents aware of what can happen.
At the end of the day, our justice is protecting other kids in the name of our daughters. Yep.
Justin Webster, father of Ivy Webster, and Nathan Brewer, Brittany Brewer's dad, continue to fight for change after their daughters were killed nearly 2 years ago.
Overwhelming just to see what hasn't been done in this case, even though we have made some progress, thanks to OSBI doing their investigation.
Now, nearly a year after being briefed on the case by an OSBI agent, they're bringing some of those details to light on what happened over the course of that dark weekend.
And the whole point of all this and getting the story out there is to show every parent out there what these monsters are capable of, and they are monsters.
Justin outlined part of the conversation in the recorded briefing.
There may have been an accomplice within the victims.
He says information showed 13-year-old Tiffany was alive Sunday afternoon and that he learned Jesse McFadden's wife, Holly, was listed as a suspect. Brittany's dad, Nathan, says the toxicology report showed she had alcohol in her system and he could not imagine as to why or how.
Through this investigation with the release, that one of the last things that was searched on Jesse's computer was how to get drunk anally while in handcuffs. So you can just picture or put the 2 together. And I believe that's how she got the alcohol in her system. And so not that she was killed or raped with everybody else, but she was tortured.
Though they say the briefing did not provide answers to everything. Justin says the initial investigation by the Okmulgee County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. At some point, I understand why some parents just say, I don't need to know. I already know the worst. I don't need to know anymore.
Yeah.
But you all have been so brave. And I think continuing and pushing is going to crack this ring. Because remember, Jesse knows people. Jesse's brother knows people. Who would even think to try to get a young child drunk in the first place, but 2, anally? That's demonic. I look at all those damn witchcraft books and everything they had. They had a straight evil door open, did they not?
I don't know. I work in an ER, so I mean, when you say you've seen it all, something will come through that door and shock you. So I mean, oh my God, it's mind blowing. I mean, I just can't wrap my head around how society thinks by changing the word pedophile to MAP is okay, and that justifies it, or that it's okay because it's not.
No.
to identify as a minor attracted person makes it okay to do stuff like that to children. It's not. You know, and that's what I told that news reporter. You hurt a child, it's a one and done. You get a life sentence or you get the death penalty. I have no sympathy for people like that. It should be a one and done. You're worried about housing these people or how much it's going to cost to put people like this away for the rest of their life. Put them down.
Put them down. That's what we're doing in Oklahoma now. Put them down. They can't be rehabilitated.
They can't. And this is the thing. This is the thing. You know, Jesse does 16 years in prison. You think that letting this man out after 16 years, what type of rehab did you give him while he was in there? You guys didn't do shit for him. And then you just expect to release him back into society thinking he's going to be a good old boy? I don't fucking think so.
Hell no.
So
and I'll send you something this afternoon because I have to find it. There are several professors in California that say that using the word pedophile is like using the word faggot or retard, that it's offensive.
Chomo, does that work? Is that acceptable?
I know. They said it has to be minor what is it? The map.
Minor attracted person? I don't fucking think so.
And they say it's actually a mental illness that needs to be treated. No. With what?
Lead.
Lye soap and a Brillo pad? That still won't stop them.
Lead.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Electric Avenue in McAllister? That's all I can think of.
It's like a dog having rabies. In my book, put them down. If you don't want to pay to house them, you know, if you don't want to pay to have notification laws put into place, you know, and you know, now I think I heard something about Oklahoma wanting to do this whole castration process. Chemical castration only works if you continue to get the shot. It's just like a woman getting the depot shot.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't do and you don't have the manpower to go up and check on these pedophiles, then what makes us think that you are going to check on them to make sure they're getting their shot?
I like when they say they don't have enough people. Well, hold on. Have the sheriff go do it. He spends more time on Eufaula Lake than he does law enforcing. Have him do it in Okmulgee County. All hands on deck. We're talking about kids here.
We can just line them up on the dock then. Just have all the chomos go there and get their shot.
Thinks he's fucking Jimmy Houston down there on Eufaula Lake. Swear.
Yeah. No.
This still frustrates him the most. He says it was only when the bolo went out for Jesse McFadden that they learned his past.
We actually didn't find out who he was until we were like, why is he in a jumpsuit? And then we started looking it up.
McFadden legally got out of prison for serving 85% of a previous rape sentence, even though he was already facing new charges for sexting an underage girl while behind bars. Justin says now it's time to turn the focus to our politicians in Oklahoma. Nathan says it's time to step up as leaders in our state and start passing bills to protect kids.
The whole reasons why I'm running for state senate here in 14 days is I've got 2 bills already drafted that will protect children. If we don't speak up and do anything, it will and can happen again. And that's why we both are sitting here fighting the same fight. We don't want other families or children have to go through what our families and our daughters went through.
They say it's not fair. There's a whole life their daughters did not get to live. Now they're 2 years into what feels like their family's own life sentence.
It is hard on a daily basis.
I was supposed to take her to get her license just last week.
Now, Justin is also calling for the resignation of Okmulgee County Sheriff Eddie Rice for his department's handling of the investigation. I reached out to the sheriff's office by phone and by email today for comment, and I'm still waiting to hear back. Justin also wants District Attorney Carol Iskey to release the investigation report. When asked for a response, Iskey cited a statute as to why that report cannot be released. It's very detailed, so I'm including that statute in this story on fox23.com. Live in studio, covering.
I read that statute, and the statute is the same statute she has broken many times.
Yeah, well, what happens to our freedom of information? I mean, and even what's his name, Jetner Drummond's asking for transparency and trying to what is it, the contraband cell phones. That's exactly what got my granddaughter killed, was having these contraband cell phones in the prison systems. Little bit late, when I tried calling his office, you know what I was told? You need to contact an attorney. Well, you think that we haven't had, contacted attorneys to try and get copies of this case? Ivy's attorney has been the only one that has tried helping us. And God bless him.
God bless him is right.
God bless Scott Fettgetter and Todd Gallagher, who has helped my son-in-law and Nathan Brewer trying to get this Knight's Law passed. Scott Fettgetter came out to Henryetta and met with the town at Shoney's just days after this happened. And let me tell you, that man took it on the chin from that town because everybody was angry. And his goal is to protect these kids. Where was the mayor? Where was Governor Stitt? Still, till this day, he has not commented on a mass murder in his state.
I could not believe that. Was that the same weekend that he was underneath the PETA billboard making ribeyes and burgers and handing them out to news reporters and the Cattlemen's Association? It's really weird about old Kev. When something big goes on, you can't find him. Like right now, it's flooding in Oklahoma, and he's in Washington, D.C. about school funding.
Priorities, right? What do you need school funding for if you're not protecting your damn kids in the state?
Well, Jesse had a lot of stuff going on, and I think there's a lot of people, had they spoken out, knowing he's a sex offender, knowing he's out on parole, and we speak about this in every case, if someone around him had said something, this wouldn't have happened.
Well, had there been notification laws in Oklahoma, for one, Justin's grandma lives next door to him, and she's lived there for years, even before Justin and Ashley moved there. Justin's cousin lives right next door to him up the hill. They would have known before Justin and Ashley even moved there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, come on. What is postage nowadays? I mean, I haven't written a letter in God knows how long, but still, I mean, when someone gets a traffic ticket, DUI, anybody who goes to court has to pay court fees. Add that in there to help pay for this notification. I mean, it ain't that hard. Arizona does it. Other states do it.
I think it comes down to that county, because Tulsa County does it. Matter of fact, they send out police officers to warn people on the RSO list that they are not allowed to give out candy for Halloween.
Well, that would require people in Henryetta and Okmulgee to actually get off their ass and do something.
Yeah, you'd have to get the sheriff off of Eufaula Lake. Yep.
And did Holly know anything about his criminal background, his time served, and the charges of criminal rape that he had served that time for?
Yes. The only thing was he had lied to her and told her that the girl was 19 years old, not 16, and that everything was just a misunderstanding. He paid a young lady to portray the victim to sit down and have a talk with my daughter. And she told him, oh, it was just a misunderstanding. You don't get 20 years for a misunderstanding.
He paid a person to impersonate the victim of his crime to tell your daughter a lie, that it was her and that wasn't a crime?
Yeah, it's exactly what he did.
Do you know how Jeanette knows this?
No, I don't. I think it's made up.
I think it's made up too.
Because if she said, Mom, he like, how do you just say, oh, someone was paid? Then to me, you know that it's a lie. And why didn't you do something, Jeanette?
Yeah.
So
I can't.
You knew
with these two mothers. I can't.
You knew
Jesse's.
You knew months and months and months before these murders happened what Jesse was. You never once showed up at my daughter's door. You never once made it public. You never once did nothing to try and stop it. You could have knocked on my daughter's door and said, hey, you know what? I don't think it's a good idea. You be letting Ivy go over there. And this is why.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guarantee you, had the roles been reversed, you wouldn't shut me up.
No. Mm-mm. And she had this thing going around Facebook, Justice for Holly. I about blew my top. She's nuts. For one, she cuts her own bangs and doesn't even put her teeth in to go on national TV.
Lord have mercy.
Oh, it was just a misunderstanding. You don't get 20 years for a misunderstanding.
He paid a person to impersonate the victim of his crime to tell your daughter a lie, that it was her and that wasn't a crime?
Yeah, it's exactly what he did.
And he never indicated at any time that he was a registered sex offender at that property where your family was killed.
No, my husband and I didn't find out until middle to late March, when my husband was looking up a coworker that he worked with to find out what his charges were, and Jesse McFadden's criminal history popped up, that he was a registered sex.
She's lying. Anyone that has ever used OSCN or ODCR in Oklahoma, nothing just pops up. Okay. You have to.
Yeah, I didn't know about the ODCR. I didn't know about that. We just looked on like the national sex national sex offendry or registry, and then we looked like watchdog.com. And Jesse was not found on the national registry until 3 days after he was deceased.
Well, she's lying right there, because if you go to ODCR or OSCN, no one's name just pops up. You got to be looking for it. You have to have the correct spelling. You got to know the county. You've got to know their first name. You know, it's not a Google search that'll give you suggestions. That is a blatant lie. And I can't believe Beigefield there didn't call her out on it.
Sex offender. My husband then contacted our daughter to find out what was going on. Why were they there? Why was he in that house with our grandchildren?
And what answers were you given when you confronted him with the fact that he was a registered sex offender?
Our daughter wouldn't let us confront him. She said, oh, it was just a misunderstanding. I've talked to the girl. At that time, we didn't know anything about the real victim.
She wouldn't let me talk to him.
She wouldn't let me talk to him. Well, you got gas in your car. You can go to the front door. There would be no misunderstanding if someone served even a day in jail for a sex offense. Okay? No. If you had had a phone call like this and came across something like this, would you take a load of bullshit like that? No. No one would. No, Jeanette's a liar. Okay? I'm just telling you right now. Jeanette's a liar.
Yeah, she is. That That whole side is.
All right, now we get to Jesse's mother. I think we can see the problem. We just saw Jeanette, so we can definitely figure out why the elevator didn't go to the top with Holly. Miswiring comes from Jeanette and her so-called husband, who just happened to look up a coworker and then got these suggestions for Jesse McFadden. Doesn't work that way.
McFadden's mom. Ready for this? Sheriff's investigator told a judge, this was in a request for a search warrant, that Jesse McFadden called his mommy on the evening of April 30th and talked to LaDonna McFadden, that's mommy, about killing himself. LaDonna McFadden told a reporter, like a couple days later, after the massacre, the mass suicide that he committed, and then the mass murder suicide, she said to the reporter, my heart is breaking for the victims. I don't understand it. I never, ever would have expected anything like this. And yet she told a sheriff's investigator that that monster called her on the evening of April 30th, talked about killing himself. So that's pretty new.
And she did nothing. She knew that she birthed two spawns of Satan. She had a restraining order against her own son.
Yep. Now, also, you have the attorney on Sunday, which could have been too late after he went to see the attorney with Tiffany. Didn't know attorneys took appointments on Sundays? Okay, fine. Good attorney in Adair County. And then he sent him a text, which was very vague, very cryptic. He himself should have called and said, you might want to go check on my client.
He should have notified authorities in the area. In my opinion.
Now, I'll say for the attorney on Sunday, it could have been too late.
Possibly.
But this mother getting this threat from her son, taking him a blanket. You've got a restraining order against your son. Why'd you take him a blanket? Why'd you go around him?
He did not against him, against Cody at one time.
Oh, against Cody. Okay.
She had a restraining order against Cody at one time and stuff like that. So that's the type of kids that LaDonna had.
Now, does LaDonna still work at the courthouse?
I don't even know. I don't follow her. Nope. I have no freaking clue.
Because it seemed to me that a lot of the records not being publicly available could have come from her. Just speculation, just my opinion. Because she'll do anything to protect those two thugs she gave birth to.
Also, some other exclusive information tonight. That Oklahoma farmhouse that was being rented to Jesse McFadden by a landlord named Raymond Paget. Raymond had no legal authorization to rent that house because he was in an ugly divorce with his estranged wife, and that thing was in receivership, which meant he wasn't supposed to rent or collect rent of any property, let alone this one. So this was an illegal rental. Did he know that he was renting illegally to a guy who's a sex offender with teenage kids that were going to live in the house? Is there a reason why he callously demanded, get your stuff and get out of here, to those victims' family members who came to figure out what happened? Paget has quite a criminal past himself, it turns out. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. Domestic abuse, all in April of 2012. And then in January of 2006, another assault and battery. All right, there's that. Then there's Holly. What did Holly know before? And what could she have done to change what happened to her and her family and those two visiting kids? What? Well, it turns out that she did a few deceptive things.
She knew everything. And we know now, not that did we just think she knew, we know she knew.
I mean, what? It doesn't make sense to me, in my mind, when these women write these men in jail and go visit these men in jail. What kind of, do you think that you're going to come out with this prized possession, this trophy husband? What would even possess somebody? to do that?
I mean, some people say it's the bad boy syndrome. No, we're not talking about a dude in leather that rides a motorcycle and
That'd be
skips.
fine if you're a single girl, but don't do it if you got kids. Don't do it if you got children. Don't be bringing that shit around kids.
No. Who would even think that makes sense? And the thing is with Holly, because one of the daddies was on News Nation, and I mean, he was just blown away by this. He was totally alienated. But all of her marriages got real weird. And part of it has to do with her religion and being subservient to her husband. We'll talk about that in another show. I brought some of it up to you last night. She's a sick ticket, man. She's a sick ticket.
In her past, when she was getting a divorce from her previous husband, Joe Guess, they filed documents that said there are no minor children of the marriage and none are expected. Problem with that is that the divorce notice was December 2021, and they'd been married for 13 years. And Holly had a 13-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 17-year-old. So there's a real good chance that little Tiffany at 13 was theirs. And there is a chance as well that Michael at 15 was theirs as well. Why would they lie? She'd already moved in with the sex offender. Was this a possible reason to lie? You don't say anything about us having kids, and maybe you can get out of child support. I don't know. Maybe. But they lied, both of them, on that divorce.
Thank you. Oh, they did. And I gave him a little bit of sympathy in the beginning, but then I heard about the divorce. How can you not name a minor child in a divorce?
Makes no sense.
No. All right, now we get to Jesse's brother. Again, LaDonna, she knows how to shut him out. Tell you what, must have felt like fire when she was giving birth.
We've been hearing a whole lot about Jesse McFadden in the last week, the man who murdered his wife, her 3 kids, and 2 kids who came for a sleepover, and probably molested and maybe murdered many other children. Some of the children featured in photographs and ledgers found in his sex torture chamber home by family members of the victims, and then eventually by the police. And it turns out Jesse had a younger brother, still does, in prison, guy named Cody McFadden. And apple didn't fall far from Jesse's tree there. Cody McFadden has quite a rap sheet of his own, sadistic and violent crimes.
What the hell did LaDonna take when she was pregnant? That's what I want to know. Because you get one bad egg, hey, that's one thing. You know, you try everything you can. But both of her sons are sadistic, cruel, inhumane, demonic.
Well, one bad apple spoils the bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to clarify, too, about those Polaroid photos that were found.
Yes.
They were normal Polaroid pictures of the kids. Like, they were not pornographic in any nature. I just want to clarify that now, because we did ask about those. So Lynn can save her crocodile tears.
You got it. Astro, I don't know why you're in here putting information that can't be verified. This is Ivy's grandmother up on the stage, up on the panel. And he said Jesse took 3 girls on a date Saturday night drinking liquor. They went to a entertainment place. They went to the mall. And then they went to like a David Buster's. No, you tell me what restaurant served them, Astro, because this is getting real old. It's disrespectful as well.
I can't see the
Just
comment.
run through
Okay.
them since 2010, shall we? Making meth, assault with a deadly weapon, battery, aggravated assault, arson, assaulting a doctor, assaulting a police officer, cruelty to animals. And just most recently, last summer, that's July of 2022, he locked his ex-girlfriend in a dog cage for an entire day. He tortured her. He beat her bloody with a stick to the point where there was blood on every part of
Angela said, I was raised in Henryetta, and this just breaks my heart. Yep, it's horrible. And LaDonna, I still think is part of some kind of cover-up, because if the information was not readily available, and she works for the courts, of course she's going to cover up for her sons. And not so much for her sons, because she's a real selfish bitch, to save her own reputation.
Her body. He reportedly used jumper cables to electrocute her. She escaped, and he set his house on fire in a standoff with the police. He's currently in jail on kidnapping and felony assault. And to prove how dangerous he is, he's on $1 million bond. $1 million bond. This is a guy who reported he had zero assets, zero income, that his entire employment was considered food stamps. A guy who has no money and gets $1 billion bond. That's a guy they don't want getting out. That's a dangerous, dangerous felon. And that's Jesse McFadden's dear brother. I want to bring in Robin Dreek. He's a retired FBI special agent who managed the Bureau's counterintelligence behavioral analysis program. Robin, first of all, let's just talk about Cody for a minute. How was a guy walking the streets as early as July of last year and able to commit that hideous and sadistic series of crimes against that girlfriend, that ex-girlfriend, with 15 years of violent criminal felony behavior? How was he walking the street last summer?
How's any of this happen, Ashley? This whole system down there right now is broken. As your last guest is saying, the former ADEC, he articulated perfectly. Everything down there needs to be redone and revamped, and you need to bring in outside people right now. The leadership needs to be shaken up massively. I can't explain any of this. It's just...
No, it doesn't make any sense. And Okmulgee County has been a mess since I knew how to spell Okmulgee County. I mean, since I was a child. I'm from Rogers County. And every time someone said Muskogee or Okmulgee, I mean, eyes would just roll like, what? What are they doing again? It's been that way for years. They're going to have to shake up the system in Okmulgee.
Yeah, they need to let new people in and not just recruit their sons and their son-in-laws and everything else. They need new eyes. Not this old backdoor, old red dirt shit.
It seems like it goes from granddaddy to son to grandson. And I mean, and they just love it. And, you know, they call themselves, you know, police officers. Hell, they couldn't stop a shoplifter at the Okmulgee Walmart.
Well, some of them are too fat to run, if you look at them. I mean, no offense.
I mean, I remember when Joe Kennedy killed those 4 dudes in Okmulgee. And he had them all chopped up and they were in the river. Here comes Joe Prentice on the TV. And he's like, well, we found body parts in the river. We had to call OSBI. And I'm like, you think? You think?
They need a lot of help out there. They really do. It sucks to say.
But tragic, all of it. Internally, externally, everything.
I feel like the FBI should be all over it, and the Oklahoma authorities should just pack up and head out, especially how they're treating the press, telling the family members, we're not their friends, don't speak to the press, and then denying us any transparency at all when we just asked for the warrant. The results of the warrant, please. In the same place you screwed up so massively for 9 straight days. Can't get that either. Our Freedom of Information request was denied. No reason given other than the law. which is baloney, and we know it. Okay, the other thing I needed to ask you about is looking at Cody McFadden as compared to Jesse McFadden. Is there such a thing as a bad gene? It's shocking to me to see this much sadistic criminal behavior among brothers.
So yes, ish. I'll say it's always a blend of nature and nurture in situations, and clearly there's a lot of nature in here too, because lightning very rarely strikes twice to that degree genetically, but it couldn't happen. But definitely there's a lot of behaviors, and both these individuals have what I call reps. They had a lot of early reps in life and started with animal cruelty most likely, and started to abuse them, and they just kept escalating throughout their lives. And when you start feeding on that, and you're in a community that's feeding on that, and like I just learned on your show tonight, that there's a lot of other child offenders in the area, that is just a really bad situation where people are feeling safe to do really heinous crimes. And so that makes a recipe for disaster as well.
And that information came to us from the lawyer for Ivy Webster's parents. Ivy Webster, one of the sleepover children who had come for a slumber party and ended up murdered along with 6 others. The other question I have for you is it so far off to think that Cody may have engaged in any of the same criminal activities as his brother, given the fact that there was so much opportunity for Cody, who lived just around the corner and at one point lived in his mother's house with his brother when they were adults, so much opportunity for criminal behavior right inside that sickening farmhouse. Is it a stretch to think that maybe Cody might be involved as well?
I don't think it's a stretch at all. I mean, it makes sense. You have time and space overlaps. You have modus of life overlaps. They have very similar violent backgrounds. And so right now, and I love the fact that your last guest said one of the things the FBI does really well is the child protection task force that we have. And that is, they come in and they can start drawing linkages through data online, through the dark web, all these things to start spreading this net out to kind of figure out who's who, who's doing what, find victims and find the perpetrators more than anything, because they're out there. We have an opportunity here, if handled well,
hey, Robin,
to do that.
Wouldn't it be nice? Would it be nice if we could announce to that community that the Oklahoma State authorities, the Sheriff's Department, the FBI, they need your help. If you think you may have been abused by this person, we need your help to find others. Nope, they won't speak to us at all. They won't even tell us what they took from the house. I think they're covering their butts in the worst way at this point. And it's shameful to see what's transpiring in this awful, awful case. Robin.
Well, it is, but it's very telling that the OSBI said that this is still an open investigation. 100%. So in closing, Shannon, I don't want to upset you anymore, but can you tell us your favorite memory of Ivy?
Oh my God, there's so many.
Yeah, if you can, yeah.
Just her love for her mother, her brothers, her dad, our slumber parties together. I had a double sink in my house, and she would always sit in the other sink, and I'd be getting ready for work, and I'd be putting my makeup on. She'd be in my other sink putting makeup on. Or we'd go to the mall, and she'd always say, "Nana, put All About the Bass on." So the other day, I was heading to work and I bought donuts because I was like, it's going to be a good day today. And it was Ivy's. I think it was, I forgot why, but I was like, and I just blared that song, and, you know, just her light that she shed on everybody. And I miss it. I miss it every day.
Oh, baby, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine. I always wondered how I would move forward just if my child had an accident, you know, getting a call about a car wreck. And then I hear stories like this, and I'm just like, I don't even know how I could, I just don't know. and how your whole family is pushing forward for a greater cause. And if you guys haven't signed the Knight's Law petition, please do. I
Yes.
think it needs to be nationwide. It doesn't need just be Oklahoma. It needs to be nationwide.
We do hope that it makes it nationwide, and we will do what we can to get it nationwide, but we need to start somewhere. This isn't just for Oklahoma, and I do want to shout out to, Ivy's attorney, Cameron, for the news reporters that have covered this case, to Kevin Lanham for his investigation, to Scott Fatgetter, Todd Gallagher, Kaylee Levis, everybody. Oh. And to the Mayo family and LaDonna, you can kiss my ass.
Yep. Uh-huh.
That's how I feel. You took my grandbaby. You guys knew what he was, and you did nothing.
You knew exactly what he was, and you did nothing. And Jeanette can kiss my ass too.
Yep, exactly.
Now, I do understand House Bill 2422 in Oklahoma is fashioned after Knight's Law. Okay, so Representative Scott Fedgatter out of Okmulgee is saying that if a sex offender is paroled, they have to, undergo a chemical castration. I like the other House bill that says no, life without parole or death.
That's the House Bill 3992.
3392. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And exactly. And, I don't live in that county, so I can't vote for Brittany's dad, but he would have my vote if I lived there.
Yep, I agree. I live in Arizona, so yeah.
Well, Shannon, I want to say thank you so much for your time, and my heart breaks for you. I feel like I've known you forever, and we just basically met yesterday. When Justin was like, can you talk to my mother-in-law? That's normally not something that you hear, not just in my line of work, but anywhere. He absolutely adores you. You're a great mother. Everyone should have a grandma like you, because when you said, I'm getting a flight right now.
That's when I found out I was on the final descent, and I didn't turn my phone off, and my phone pinged, and I looked at it. It was from Ashley, and she said she's dead. The next text I got was, he fucking killed them all.
Oh.
And I looked at my ex-husband, and all I could do was shake my head no. And to try and run off that plane with legs that were like noodles. Worst day of my life.
Did you fly into Oklahoma City or Tulsa?
Tulsa.
So then you had to drive down there. Holy hell.
Yeah, my best friend who I've known, we went to high school in California. I've known her, gosh, we were in 9th grade. So almost 40 years. She lives out there, and she said, when your wheels hit the ground, call me. And I did, and she met me right there at the pickup. She threw her car keys in my hand, and she said, I'll see you in a day. And she's the one that drove us up to the horror house when the OSBI took over, because she was the only car that we could get out, because there were so many cars for IV service. And she's been a major support for us too. But I mean, I couldn't even drive. My ex-husband had to drive her car because I could barely stand. And we went straight to the kids' school. It was terrible.
It is terrible. And, the way that, you're moving forward, which I don't think there is such a thing, but, with positivity, not forgetting Ivy. I love Ivy's garden.
Yeah.
And, you know, changing things so nobody else has to go through what you went through. Nobody gets that phone call. Nobody has to fly into Tulsa, you know, and go look at something like that. Nobody.
Well, that's the biggest thing too, is, you know, I have a really good group of girlfriends out here that I cannot say where I would be without them. You know, I was in Oklahoma a month after this happened, and those girls, I mean, they stepped up and they were trying to pay my bills for me and making sure, I mean, they listen to me vent. I mean, they spend the night with me when I have hard days. You definitely need a support system in times like this.
Yes, you do. And you can't have a big enough one. No.
Because 2 years of therapy really didn't do shit for me. But let me tell you, them girls got me through a lot.
That was one thing I was going to ask you. Is anybody in the family in therapy?
Yes. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Well, you have support here as well. If you need anything, you let me know. I was super surprised when I got that phone call from Justin the other night. My face about fell off.
He's
I was like, dude, what?
I love him to death. And it's funny. So if you ever hear me refer to my kids, I mean Ashley and Justin, because I do. I call him my son. I don't call him my son-in-law. He's my son. You know, anybody that can put up with my daughter, I always tell them. And then I always it's just an inside joke between us. You know, so.
Well, I love it. You're absolutely amazing. Again, everyone should have a grandma like Shannon. She didn't stop. She didn't flinch. She said, I'm right there. I'm not trusting these damn police. I'm going to the damn house myself. Yeah, I'm going to record this phone call with the OSBI because, hell, if I'm going to remember it, because it's a ton of information.
I still don't remember a lot of it.
Nope.
Probably trauma response, though.
Yeah, a trauma response is right. Absolutely. And nobody can judge you for that. No one. Well, I want everyone to have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully you're not flooded out. I know we have some, well, they were talking about tornadoes overnight, but it looks like they missed us with that. Shannon, many blessings to you. You have my phone number. Anything you need, you let me know, okay?
Thank you so much. I'll send you some warm weather.
Please do, because Arizona is my jam. My husband would want to live in Louisiana. He loves Louisiana, and I'm always like, no, if we're going to move out of Oklahoma, I'm going to Arizona.
It's so nice. I'll take the dry heat any day.
All right. You guys have a great rest of your Friday. Thank you for everything, and thank you, everyone, for continuing to be here for the right reasons and supporting these amazing families that went through beyond what any of us could ever imagine going through. Love you lots.
Thanks.